Hey everyone, hey athletes, happy Wednesday. We are running a bit behind because, of course, we've had some technical difficulties. I swear it never fails, but if something goes smooth, we're like celebrating. Anyway, today I am here talking tofu. So let me check my iPad really quickly and make sure that I can see you on my iPad. So if you have any questions or comments, I can answer them and we can have a bit of a conversation. So when you jump on, say hello, tell me where you're from, tell me if you end up watching the replay later. And again, let's have a conversation. So if you have any questions or comments or want to share anything at all, again, put them in the comments below and I'd love to see what you have to say. So I am just checking to see real quick here if I can see myself. I might have to have Dawn help me with this. Oh boy.
What's going on?
Well, it's just showing events, but it's not.
Oh, are you in Eat, Love, Try?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on there.
Oh, you see it?
Mm-hmm.
I can't see it on here. You might want to find it. Anyway, okay. So again, I am going to be, did you find it? Okay. He found it really easy. It must be the user. All right, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna set this up so I can see what's going on. Did you share it?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, so when you pop on, say hello, tell me where you're watching from. And again, today I'm talking about tofu. So on Monday, I posted in our, I posted in both places, in our plant-powered athlete group and then here on Eat, Love, Triathlon about tofu. And I know that is kind of a sticking point for a lot of people. It's either you love it or you don't. And some people feel like they can't really go plant-based if they don't love tofu and they're not using it in their diet. So that is not the case at all. There are so many other things that you can eat and enjoy, but I'd love to get you on board with tofu. And I know it's kind of weird. It's kind of got a different texture. It's really bland and plain, which is one of the best things about tofu because you can really flavor it with anything, but it's really a great nutrient. So it's high in protein, but low in carbs. And I know a lot of you are looking for something like that. But it's also got a good amount of calcium and lots of other benefits to it. But so my goal is to get you on board with tofu today. So I want to talk about tofu, the different types of tofu, because there's so much out there that you can choose from, how to use it in different ways. And then I'm going to whip up a couple of really quick recipes that I think might work for you. I actually have not tried either one of these, but I think they're going to work out really great. So before we get started, let me see here if I can see any comments. Yeah, I can't see any comments, Dawn. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce myself for the new people. So new people in the group and people that have, not seen my lives before or been able to interact in the group too much. I'm Kathleen Oswalt. I'm a registered dietitian and a certified culinary nutrition expert. I'm also the co-founder of Eat, Love, Triathlon and the Plant-Powered Process. And of course, the other co-creator is Don, my husband, and he's right here. So he's kind of helping me with the technical stuff today. I'm going to be in the kitchen. All right, so let's get started. Monday, I was talking about tofu a little bit and kind of, what is it? When you think about it, it's kind of like, well, what is tofu? It really is just soy milk that is condensed soy milk that is used kind of like in a cheese making process to make it into a cube or a block. So that's basically what soy is, or what tofu is. There are several different types, and we're going to use a couple different types today. We're going to use the silken tofu and the extra firm tofu. So tofu typically comes in a tub like this, and it's always labeled with what type it is. So this says silken tofu. I've already opened this one, but this one will tell you that it's, if you can see it, the extra firm tofu. But silken is one that I have not worked with before. So this is my first time working with silken, and we are going to make a smoothie with it. So this is something that I've wanted to try for a while, and this gives me an opportunity to do that. So the silken tofu is really soft and kind of mushy. So once I take it out of this package, I think that it's going to easily fall apart. So I want to be kind of careful with that. It's going to be in water, which most all tofu, I'm going to show you a product today that isn't, but most of them are covered in water, and so that needs to be drained out. The silken tofu is going to be great for using it in smoothies, making sauces with it. You can make desserts like maybe a vegan cheesecake or a chocolate pie, a vegan chocolate pie, something really tasty like that. So anything that you can really blend it with, like making dips for your veggies and things like that. So this is the silken tofu, and that's the softest. Then we've got regular tofu, which I'm not really sure how often people use the regular. I've never really seen that. I usually see silken, and then I'll see, firm, extra firm, and then some of the other products that I'll talk about just really quickly today. So the regular is just a little bit more solid than the silken and can kind of be used in the same way. You can make dips, sauces, things like that out of it, but you can also use it in things like noodles, or not noodle bowls, but more like a curry, some type of soup or stew like that. You could also use the regular because it is softer. You can use that for a tofu scramble, and if you haven't tried the tofu scramble, it can be really fun. It's just like making scrambled eggs. You can add nutritional yeast to it. If you want to make it a little bit spicier, you can add some cumin, chili powder, maybe add a little bit of cayenne pepper, and then you can load it up with all sorts of different vegetables, just like you would scrambled eggs if you were making that. So making a tofu scramble can be a great way to get in some great protein. It's a great vehicle for vegetables. And then you can pair it with maybe like a sprouted bread or maybe some potatoes or sweet potatoes, something like that, to get your carbs in there too. So then we have firm tofu, and I'll go back and forth between firm and extra firm. So the firm tofu is good if you want to bake it, if you want to pan fry it, if you want to put it in stews or soups or curries, something like that. Let's see. Oh, okay.
Do you have samples or
only a few of them. I didn't buy all of them, so I'm going to show the extra firm in a minute. But the firm is, like I was saying, it's good if you want to pan fry it, if you want to bake it, if you want to use it in curry, stews, soups, things like that. So it's going to be firmer, right? It's going to hold together better. So you can cut it into more like steaks or cubes, something like that. And I'll show you that in a minute. And then we have the extra firm, and that is, let's see, let me take this off of here. I'm pressing the tofu, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The extra firm is definitely firm. It's in a cube. You can kind of see it's rubbery. It's not falling apart or anything like that. The extra firm is going to be good, definitely if you want to kind of make some steaks out of it and bake it or pan fry it that way or put it on the grill. Let me put this back over here. The extra firm typically doesn't soak up the marinade as well just because it's so firm and compact. But you can still use a marinade, but it might be better if you're using like a barbecue sauce or some type of seasoning spread that you can spread all over it, kind of like a piece of fish or a piece of meat type of thing. It's gonna have like a meatier flavor because it is so firm and compact, so it's gonna be, again, a little bit more like meat. What else? Okay. And then there's super firm. I've never seen the super firm. It might have been at Whole Foods this morning when I went, but I don't remember seeing that. And again, that's going to be another one where it may not soak up the marinade as much. It's going to be more for like cutting into steak, what do I want to say? Like just like steak slices, again, doing some type of rub on it or barbecue sauce, pan frying it, baking it, or putting it on the grill that way. So those are the different options you have with the tofu. Then there's a couple of other different products. And so I find this only at Whole Foods right now, but this is a pre-pressed tofu. So the water has been pressed out of it and you don't have to deal with pressing the water out, because sometimes that can be a little bit of a hassle. But if you get on top of it quick, before you start, when you first start preparing your recipe, usually you have enough time to get the water out. It takes a good 15 to 20 minutes, if not a little bit longer. But you can use the pre-pressed tofu. This is, again, going to be better for like making the tofu steaks, where you're using a rub, a seasoning rub, or a barbecue sauce or something like that. Again, putting it on the grill. We've done that a few times, and actually that turns out really nice. And then we'll make tacos with that, or we'll, one time we made tofu steaks with barbecue sauce, and we paired it with a black-eyed pea salad and some, I believe, rice, something like that. So this is an option. Now, your pre-pressed tofu is about double the price. Regular tofu is very inexpensive, and it lasts for quite a while. So let's see. This I bought this morning, and the expiration date on it is December 25th. So great for a pandemic because it can stay in the refrigerator for quite a while. So it's nice to have some, 2 or 3 different options of tofu in the refrigerator ready to go if you want to make smoothies, or you want to make some kind of cheese sauce, or you want to do scrambled tofu or make steaks or something like that. So this is a great option, the pre-pressed tofu, and I'm using it as my weight to get the water out of my extra firm tofu for one of the recipes I'm going to make. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is that tofu, again, when you buy it, it has a long shelf life. But like today, I'm going to make a smoothie with it, and I'm only going to use 1/3 of the block. So I'm going to want to save that other 2/3. And how I can do that is by putting it in a glass container, a Tupperware container, and covering it with some water and putting it in the refrigerator, and it should last a good 7 days. Just changing out the water, keeping it clean, keeping it fresh. So that's something that you can think about if you don't use the entire block of the tofu. So let's make a smoothie. How about that? Yeah? Okay. Any comments or anything?
Kelly's on.
Oh, Kelly. Hey, Kelly. All right.
Danny's watching.
Okay.
Danny Moore.
Oh, okay. Hi, Danny. All right. So I'm just going to make a really simple smoothie. And what I've got in here, you can use any frozen fruit you want. So this recipe originally called for frozen blueberries. I don't have any, but I have frozen cherries. And so I did 1/2 cup of frozen cherries in here. And I like to take the ripe bananas from the summertime and unpeel them, put them in a bag, and put them in the freezer for smoothies and baked goods and things like that. So I took out a frozen banana and put that in here as well. And then we have a mixture of hemp seeds, chia seeds, and flax seeds in the refrigerator, and I sprinkled probably 1 to 2 tablespoons in here. That's just going to give us some nice omega-3 fatty acids. We've got our carbs with our fruit, and so we want to add some protein, right? So you can use either soy milk or a pea milk or some other type of plant-based, where'd that come from? Other type of plant-based milk that's higher in protein. So I've got the Ripple unsweetened pea milk here, and it's nice and thick. I've got about 2/3 of a cup, so I'm going to pour that in here. And then I'm going to put my tofu in. So, like I said, I've never done the silken tofu. So this is no longer, I saw this on social media, this is no longer your steak knife. This is your tofu opener knife.
So is that already pressed?
No, this one's not pressed. So you can see that, I don't know, I'll spill it if I tip it, but you can kind of see that there's liquid. Oops, see, it just kind of spilled out. This is full of liquid here, so I'll drain it so you can kind of see the liquid just falling off of it. And it doesn't, a lot of the liquid is in the silken tofu. It's not going to drain a lot of it out like it will for the firm or the extra firm. but you can see it broke off into the container. So it's very soft, it's very full of water, it's very silky, and I guess that's probably how it gets its name. So I'm just going to take about a third and, oh my gosh, where'd that flour from?
I don't know.
And I'm just going to put this in the blender. Break it up, put it in there, blend up really nicely.
So what is tofu made out of again?
Soy.
Soy.
Yeah.
Okay, so beans.
Well, it's the soy milk, condensed soy milk, yeah.
Okay.
Put this over here. It's gonna get loud for a minute, so mute me. And I'm just gonna blend this so it's nice and smooth. Whatever else, if you want a little bit of sweetener in there, you could put 100% maple syrup or some pure honey in there. The recipe called for it. I didn't add it, so we'll see if it needs it. Again, you can do a variety of different fruits, whatever you want to do. Now again, the greatest thing about tofu is that it's bland. It doesn't have a flavor. So what I put in here should just make it nice and thick, give it some protein, give it some calcium, some other vitamins and minerals, and it should take on the flavor of the cherries and the banana. So I don't know, let's see. Do you want to be the taste tester, Don?
Sure.
He's always the taste tester.
So this is, so what's in here?
Cherries, a banana, the tofu, the pea milk, and flax, chia, and
Yeah, you
hemp.
can't really taste anything. It's good. Tastes like banana and cherry.
Yeah, and it doesn't need any sweetener here. There's more in here. You can take what you want. I don't think it does. Do you need it a little sweeter?
No. You put some chia seeds in there too?
Chia, hemp, and flax. Here, you can finish this off. There you go. So yeah, so that's really nice. It's nice and thick, and I didn't have to add any ice, and part of that is because I put a frozen banana in there. So if you don't have a frozen banana and you just stick one in there from your shelf or your fruit basket, you might want to put a little bit of ice in there just to chill it and thicken it up. But the tofu will help with that as well. So that was super simple, right? And so what I'll do is just put it into a container. Remember, we're gonna save this. We'll make some more smoothies this week, or I might make a dip or something. So I'm gonna put it in the container and get the rest of it out that broke off. And just cover it with a little bit of cold filtered water and keep it fresh. Change out the water, keep it fresh, and we're good to go.
How long will that last?
Oh, I need to put the water in here. This will last about 7 days. Okay, so let's, whoops, got the wrong lid. So I think this is a great way for people to start out with the tofu if you feel like it's kind of funky with the texture. I know some people commented on the post on Monday that they just can't get over the texture. Have a really hard time with that. So this is a great option starting out with the silken tofu and really blending it in with some things. You don't even know it's there. You can't even taste it. And if you want to trick your family, you could do it with this. All right, and I know everyone loves smoothies. Okay, so let's make another recipe, and I think this is not one that I've tried, but again, something that I've wanted to try for quite a while. So I'm super excited about doing this with you guys. I want to make a vegan herbed ricotta cheese. And so what I'm gonna do with that, this is a great way to substitute, obviously, regular ricotta. What I'm going to do with it tonight is make pizza. So we're going to make pizza, and I'm going to put this down on the crust and maybe have some dollops on top. But I'm going to do this again with pizza. We're going to roast some eggplant. We're going to roast some golden beets, which I'm super excited about. We're going to put some herbs into the tofu and make a really delicious pizza tonight. So excited about that. So let's do the ricotta. Let me clean out the blender because I need that. So let me know in the comments if you think that you're up for trying tofu in a smoothie. Let me know if that's something that you think could work for you and maybe even your family. Like I said, you can kind of sneak it in on them. I was hesitant about putting the chia seeds in because I'm afraid I'm going to have one in right here in the front of my teeth. But anybody that's eaten chia seeds, they understand. Okay, so what we're going to do for the herbed tofu ricotta cheese. Oh, so let me go back just a second. So I was talking about using it for pizza tonight, but other things you can do is use it in a lasagna. You could do that instead of regular ricotta. You can just put a dollop of the herbed ricotta on top of spaghetti noodles. You could do stuffed pasta shells. What else could you do? You could do, if this turns out well, one of the things that I'm looking forward to doing is doing stuffed poblano peppers. So I used to do that with regular cheese, but I really want to try it with the herbed ricotta and just change up the herbs and the seasonings that I have to make it more kind of like a Mexican Hispanic flavor. So, you know, just kind of let your imagination take over with what you can do with this. So let's see. Oh, I have right here. Okay, so we're going to take the tofu. And what I've done, I was telling you that I was pressing the tofu. So when I opened up the package that the tofu came in this plastic little box here, it was full of water. So I had to drain the water out. And then the water that's in the tofu needs to be drained out as well. And that's how it's going to cook better. Or for the ricotta, we don't necessarily have to cook it, but it's just going to blend better. We just don't want a lot of water leaking out and making our herbed ricotta, just really watery and kind of yucky. So I've been pressing this for probably almost 30 minutes. And what I have here, you can use a clean dish towel. This is just a cheesecloth that I have that I use over and over to press tofu most of the time. So I just put it on a plate, I cover it in the cheesecloth, and then I put a plate on top of it. And you always want something to kind of weigh it down, just to kind of press out that water. That's going to be really helpful. You can do this with paper towels. You're just going to have to change out the paper towels 2 or 3 times. So a cheesecloth or a dish towel is just a little bit easier to use. There is also a tofu press. I don't have one. I've never used one. I thought about getting one, but I just have so much stuff in the kitchen. I just don't really have room for it. But somebody in the comments on Monday posted that they have a tofu press, and it does help get a lot of the water out. So that's something to think about if you want to try that. It's an option. So let me put this over here. One of the things I wanted to talk about before I make the ricotta is that if you're going to use tofu, a firm or an extra firm, for cutting steaks or cutting into little cubes and marinating and then putting that in your curry or in a noodle dish or something like that, you're just going to want to take it and cut through the square of tofu here. So then you end up with 2 pieces like this, okay? If you're going to cut it in steaks, you can just kind of cut it like this if you would like to. And then you kind of have 3 different steaks here. That's what we'll do if we grill it for tacos. If you're gonna make it into cubes, then you would do that to both sides. And then you would just cube it like this. And you can make big cubes, you can make small cubes, it doesn't matter. Whatever you decide you want to do. If it's easier for you to tolerate it in much smaller cubes, then do that. You can do just like little cubes like this. So it's up to you, okay? So let me stick these in here. I'm just gonna kind of break them up. I'll put the cubes in here. I'm gonna use the whole carton. Make sure I have enough for dinner tonight. And then I'm going to put in a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast. Let me know if you use nutritional yeast and if you love it. It's a great cheesy, what do I want to say? Substitute. Gives you a little cheesy substitute.
What is that made
of? Yeast. This is a great, it gives you a lot of B12. It's a great source of B12. I've got 4 garlic cloves that I'm going to put in here. We're going to make it nice and flavorful because, again, it's very bland. We need to give it a lot of good flavor for it to be good. I'm going to put some salt in here.
Can you see who's watching? I think Eric.
Kevin, James.
Oh, wow.
Hendo, is that how you say your name? I'm also going to put in, I don't know, it says a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I'm a little hesitant to do that because most recipes call for a teaspoon. So I think I'm gonna start with a smaller portion and go from there. But I like the Bragg's apple cider vinegar. I just mixed it up. I do that all the time before showing it, but there's a lot of like cloudiness that sits at the bottom here. So it's really important to always mix that up. That is called the mother in the apple cider vinegar. It has a lot of good bacteria for your gut. And so I like to use the Bragg's. So I'm gonna start out with just a little bit. I'll probably end up adding it, but I just am on the cautious side there. And what else? Oh, I'll put my herbs in at the end. I'm gonna put a little bit of lemon in. When you're using lemon, what I like to do is wash it off, and then I like to roll it like this, kind of loosen it up so you get a lot of the juice without having to use a lot of work. And usually I use a citrus press, but if the seeds end up in here, it's not a big deal because this thing will grind it right down. So we're gonna do, calls for about a 1/4 cup, so put that in there. And I think I've got it all. Yep. So let's blend this up. We're gonna make it nice and smooth. That's what we want. And then we're gonna add in the herbs at the end and just kind of buzz it a couple times just to kind of break the herbs up. And then the other thing I might do, especially since we're eating pizza, and even for pasta, I like to do this, but I'll probably add in some red pepper flakes just to give it a little bit of spice. Let me use the, it doesn't call for any water, but it's kind of crumbly, so let's see how this is going to work out. I might just need to work it around. What was that?
How's it looking?
It's looking pretty good. The nutritional yeast, I think I put that in before the tofu, and I probably should have put that in afterwards because it's kind of on the bottom. Let me taste it. put more lemon. I'm probably gonna put a little bit of everything. I'm gonna put more apple cider vinegar. So the recipe was right. Put a little bit more salt. And then I can't forget the herbs, because that's what's gonna give it a lot of good flavor too. Okay. We'll just put our herbs in here and just kind of grind it one time real quick. And I just got a handful of a little bit of basil and parsley, but you can use anything. You could put some chives in here if you wanted to do a little bit of fresh oregano, just basil, just parsley. If you wanted to kind of give it a little bit of a Hispanic flair, you could do cilantro, whatever you want. So I think, and again, remember that this is going to be something that is served, you know, on a pizza crust with veggies and some other things. So it'll, you know, everything together will be, I'm sure, really good flavor. So you can see that the herbs are kind of crushed up. You can crush them up more if you want. If you wanted to make this a little thinner, you could probably add just a little bit of plant milk or water, whatever you wanted. A little bit of veggie broth. Do you want to try it?
Sure.
Yeah, you can really taste the garlic, so that'll be awesome on the pizza. And then I'll add a little bit of the crushed bell or the crushed red pepper in there, and I think it'll be really good.
Yeah, I like
with the yeah, and then the roasted veggies on the pizza. I think that'll be really good.
Kind of tastes like cheese.
Well, it's supposed to. Did you hear that? He goes, it kind of tastes like cheese. It's supposed to.
It's good, yeah. No, it's good.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll put this, obviously I'll put it from the blender into the container, and that can last, we'll probably use all of it, if not close to all of it, but if you didn't use all of it, you could put it in a tight container in the refrigerator, and it could last up to about 3 to 4 days, so you could use it on something else. So, okay, I hope that you are willing to try this recipe. I think it could be, again, you know, when you're blending the tofu and you're adding flavor to it, I think it's a great way to use it when you're having trouble with the texture and you're just not getting a good cook on it. So this is another option for you. And again, you can use it in a lot of different ways. But I wanted to finish up just with a few other ideas that if you're not going to blend it, but you want to cook it in steaks or you want to cube it, put it in like an Asian noodle dish or a curry or something like that, I wanted to give you some tips on how to maybe prepare it a little bit better. So, let's see, so I guess one of the things I wanted to talk about is marinating your tofu. So remember, if you're doing the super firm, which I haven't seen in the store, but if you're using the super firm or the extra firm, it might not take up the marinade as well as if you use just a firm tofu. So you might want to think about that for one. So if you're marinating it, That's the first thing to think about. The second thing to think about, which I never knew this before, so this was a good learning experience for me too, and to try some new things in my cooking. But when you create a marinade for tofu, you want to try to keep oil out of it, because there's a lot of water. Even if you press a lot of the water out of the tofu, it still has water in it. So water and oil, what happens? They don't mix. So it's going to be even extra hard for your tofu to soak up the marinade. So try to leave the oil out until the very end. You could add it in the pan when you cook it, or you can add it, at the very end, just kind of mix some oil on there or in with the tofu. So let me know if you guys have any questions or comments about the tofu, but that's one thing to think about. So I wanted to just give you some ideas for some different marinades or different flavors, I guess, that you can kind of create together. So if you wanted to do something with an Asian flair or Asian theme, you can always do something with like soy sauce or coconut aminos or liquid aminos, depending on, if you're allergic to gluten and things like that. If you're allergic to soy, you could use coconut aminos. You could use that as a base. Then you could put some fresh lime juice in there, some grated ginger. If you wanted to use some red pepper flakes like I have, you can use rice vinegar. So lots of different strong flavors, again, to create nice flavors in that plain tofu. Another thing you could do is, if you wanted to throw it into salads, you could make it more kind of like American maybe, or Italian. You could do balsamic vinegar as the base, and then you could put in a lot of crushed garlic to give it that flavor, lots of different herbs, kind of like what we did for the ricotta cheese, some salt, and let it marinate in that. Another idea is to make it more kind of a Hispanic flair. So you could do things like lime juice again. You could do crushed garlic, chili powder, cumin, cayenne pepper. Maybe you want to do some smoked paprika or some chipotle flavor, something like that. And just do kind of a rub on it with some of that lime juice in there. And then you could do kind of, again, if you wanted to throw it in salads or something like that, you could do some citrus. So maybe a mixture of lemon and orange. You could use the juice and the zest. Again, some crushed garlic. Maybe you want to throw in some cinnamon, some salt, some cumin, something like that. So those are some ideas, to marinate your tofu in. So I told you about the water and the oil, right? No oil while you're marinating it. But another tip is to take a fork and poke holes in it and allow the marinade to kind of soak in to the middle of your tofu, not just the outside. So that's another thought as well. Something that I found last night that I thought was really exciting, I want to try. It's crispy baked buffalo tofu, and it looks so good. Who loves a buffalo flavor? I love that. It's just nice and spicy, and it goes with a lot of different things. You could make kind of like a vegan ranch dip or blue cheese dip, something like that. All right, so here are some other ways to enjoy tofu. So we've talked about blending it a little bit, but now we're kind of talking about cubing it up and putting it on the grill or baking it, things like that, pan frying it. So again, like I said earlier, you could grill it, you could do kind of a seasoning rub or a barbecue sauce on it, and again, serve it with, some type of bean salad, mashed potatoes, rice, things like that. You could also add it to like a red or a green curry dish, and it's amazing in there. So, if you don't like the tofu really soft, then use the firm or the extra firm if you like that more meaty texture. It's just not going to soak things up as much, but you have so much flavor in the curry. You take a bite of tofu with that curry flavor and the vegetables, it'll be fine. You could also, steak it like we have and put it in tacos, but you could also crumble it. So you could do kind of like a tofu crumble. You could make taco crumbles, like meat crumbles. You could do that for spaghetti. You could do that for stuffed peppers. So kind of think of different ways, if you're using it for tacos, how could you make it work for other meals that you prepare? Again, I talked about the tofu scramble earlier. That's a great meal for breakfast, lunch, dinner. You know, again, what can you make that's for breakfast that can also work for dinner, that can work for leftovers? So think about it that way. I haven't tried this, but you can make a tofu egg salad. So that might be something that we try in the future. Again, I know that a lot of people going plant-based, athletes going plant-based, it's like, well, what do I do if I don't have my lunch meat sandwich anymore? So there's a lot of things you can do with tofu, beans, things like that, to make kind of like these renditions of egg salad or chicken salad, things like that, tuna salad. And then if you're really adventurous, which I haven't gotten to this point, but you can actually make your own cheese with tofu. So if you're missing cheese and you don't really have good options, or you don't like what's on the shelf, you can try making your own. And again, it's all about adding the flavors in there to make it tasty. So, all right, you guys, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you'll give tofu an opportunity. I'll talk a little bit more on Friday in my post about the benefits of tofu and why you want to get tofu into your diet as an option. But let me know what you think. I'd love to know. So put your comments below. And if that's it, I don't see any comments for right now, I will say goodbye. You guys have a great rest of your evening, afternoon, and
thanks for joining.
Yep, thanks for joining us. All right, take care.